Okay, what we're going to do now is deal with the special order parts that customers have ordered from us in the previous business system. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over here to settings, and this may have already been done by the accounting department, but we just want to check. We're going to go to settings, general, payment methods, and we're going to look over here for something called old customer credits. And so here it is. It's this 10 icon, but we want to make sure that this exists because this is how we're going to actually enter the credits on the invoice when we get ready to cash out the invoices. But for right now, we're going to jump back over here to accounting first. Now, there's two scenarios that come into play here. Really three, but two that we're most concerned with. One is that the customer has already paid 100% for the parts. The second one is that they paid for a portion of it and they haven't paid for the whole thing. So in that latter example, the question then becomes, have the parts already arrived in the dealership? In other words, the old purchase order that was done in the old business system has already been received and the parts have been sitting on the shelf for the last week and the customer just hasn't come to pick them up. If the answer to that question is yes, it's a partial payment in the old system, but the parts are already received, they're already in stock in the old system, and therefore we don't want to put anything into Lizzie. But we do want to collect the additional money that this customer owes us when they come to pick up their parts. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually come over here to accounting, receivables, and we're going to tell it to create a new accounts receivable. So first we're going to look at the customer that we're interested in working with. So we're going to locate customer, we're going to find the customer that we're after, and then we're going to click on new receivable. We're going to tell it that we want to create an account receivable because he owes us money. We're going to hit next. We're going to tell it that if you're in a multi-location, what location you're doing this for. If you want to create an account number, you can. It's not necessary. We're going to pick the date that they owed us for the money, the due date that it's due. Again, you can leave these set to today. It really isn't going to hurt anything. The current amount due, so he owes us an additional $50. So we're just going to put in $50. We're going to leave this. We'll probably change this note so that it makes more sense to what we're doing. So this is an old credit for special order parts, or actually not an old credit, but an old. Actually, for this scenario, we probably want to make this say leftover balance for special order parts. And then for the offsetting account, I would just choose the owner's equity account again. For this part of the process, I would just put everything into the owner equity account and just hit the save button. That's it. So now when the customer comes to pick up the part, you instruct your people to locate that customer, hit the pay button on the invoice. So you're just going to come over here to invoicing, locate the invoice, hit the pay button here, pay invoices, and that will bring up a list of all of the accounts receivable that he owes us for, including the $50 that he owes us for the special order parts. So that's how you deal with that scenario. Now, the second scenario is that the parts were paid in full and they were processed through the old system and they've been received. In that case, we do nothing inside Lizzie at all. We're going to tag the parts in the bin, so when they show up, we're just going to hand them to them and everything's done. The next scenario is that the parts have not arrived, and these are the ones that we're most concerned with. The parts have been ordered in the old system, but they have not come in to your dealership yet. Now, in this scenario, we are going to want to want to have these parts attached to a purchase order, and we should have already created our purchase orders. So the purchase orders, they don't know that customers are waiting on the parts, but they should already be over there. They should already be tagged as ordered. They should be ready to go. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to create a new invoice. We're going to tell it to use the customer that we're interested in. We're going to do a part sale. We're going to add a part. We're going to put in the part that they're interested in ordering. At this point, when I tell it to add this part, Lizzie is going to actually put this part on the purchase order. So it has already attached everything for me. This is all I have to do. I'm just going to put the part here, and I'm going to leave everything else alone. And I'm going to tell it to pay the invoice. And now the question is has the customer paid for a portion or all of this part? So right now we are set to 100% deposit. And if that's what your old system was doing, then that's what you want to set. If it's not, then you want to set it for whatever percentage you were taking from the old customer. But the question is on this invoice, how much did we collect from the customer? Because we do need to make sure that they're the same. So this value is going to be the amount that we collected on the original invoice. We're going to come down here to the bottom, and we're just going to tell it to use payment method 10, which is automatically going to create our account receivable for us for the customer deposit, so that when they come to pick up the part, everything will match up and the system will know that they've already paid for either all or a portion of this particular invoice. So that pretty much covers all the different scenarios for dealing with special order parts with relation to Lizzie, and making sure that we collect the money, that we link things up to the purchase orders, and how to deal with whether or not we've already received them into the old system or whether we're going to be receiving them into Lizzie later.